But it's going to be the Irish woman who's going to get the victory here in Monaco, and the clock stops at 49.18.
March 2026, Texas Relays, Austin. Rhasidat Adeleke grabs the baton for the second leg of the women's 4x400 relay. Her team crosses the line first, 3:35.25. Just a relay, just a win. But not really. For months, she had been fighting a bad hamstring injury, one that could have wrecked one of the greatest careers in Irish sports history. That baton pass in Austin was not just another race, it was a message. She was back. Yeah, it was a good race, a lot of back and forth, but you know, the whole point of it was to have fun, and that's exactly what I did. Because in 2024, this same woman won the 400 meters at the Monaco Diamond League. Her time? A blazing 49.17 seconds. Sometimes you need to go to places that you've never been so you know where you want to be or what you want to achieve. Silver at the European Championships in Rome, 49.07 seconds, a new Irish record. Gold in the mixed relay for Ireland in 3:09.92, another record. Then gold in the 100 meters at the Irish Nationals in 11.13 seconds, another record in an event that's not even her main race. 6 NCAA titles, 3 Irish records in one single season. When I was in primary school, I was always doing it just for fun. I didn't really think any success I'd get out of it, to be honest. A Diamond League title, a European Championship silver medal, because I'm really tall, so when I'm running short distances against shorter people, my start isn't really the best, but the longer the distance, the better it gets. All of this before she turned 21, and now top people in the sport are using one name to describe watching her run: Florence Griffiths Joyner. FloJo, the fastest woman ever. She ran 10.49 seconds in the 100 meters back in 1988. That record has held for 38 years. FloJo didn't just change the times, she changed what a female sprinter could be. She made you feel like history was happening right in front of you. By the end of this video, you'll get why people make that comparison. But to understand Rhasidat Adeleke, you need to know 2 places: Talith in southwest Dublin and Lagos in southwest Nigeria. Her parents are Nigerian, so obviously it's super cool to get the time and, you know, represent tall people out there as well. She grew up in Talith, a working-class suburb, not exactly a hotbed for world-class sprinting. Ireland's running story has always been about distance. Think Sonia O'Sullivan, the classic Irish athlete image, someone grinding out the final miles of a marathon, not someone blowing past the fastest women on earth. Sometimes people try to place limitations on how far you can go because they've never seen anyone else do it. Rhasidat changed that picture completely. She was showing raw speed from a very young age. The training environment isn't exactly identical to, you know, an American setup. People in Irish club athletics couldn't believe what they saw. Talent was never the question. So being there definitely put me out on a limb to have a huge development process. The real question was finding a path big enough for that talent. The answer came from across the Atlantic, and I was extremely nervous. I wasn't really speaking to many people and stuff. I didn't really try to get to know my competition. The University of Texas offered her a scholarship. She landed in Texas as a teenager. I think it's definitely possible, you know? Nothing really holds me back if I'm not doing short sprints. She walked straight into one of the toughest college programs on the planet. The Big 12 does not play around. When I was doing short sprints over here, I used to always race really well when they were like 16. The athletes she raced in her freshman year later went on to represent the USA, Jamaica, and Botswana at the Olympics. Within one season, she was beating them. By the time college ended, she had 6 NCAA titles, indoor and outdoor, individual and relay. She smashed records in the 60, the 200, and the 400 meters in a program that had churned out pros for decades. Her coaches called her generational. In women's track, there's an invisible line. It separates the very good from the truly elite. In the 400 meters, the brutal one-lap race, that line sits at 49 seconds. Fewer than 50 women in history have ever gone under it. Across every country, every era. The list includes Marita Koch, the world record holder at 47.60, Sonia Richards-Ross, Marie-José Perec, Jarmila Kratochvilova, legends of the event. At the 2024 European Championships in Rome, Rhasidat Adeleke ran 49.07. Yeah, it's pretty difficult, when someone beats you at something that you trained so hard for. Silver medal, Irish record, and a spot in one of the most exclusive clubs in the sport's history. She was only 20, and 20 means something huge in the 400 meters. Like, I was just kind of waiting out there, and there's some older girls in the race as well, which makes it, A quarter-miler's body, the mix of pure speed and endurance the race demands, usually doesn't peak until the mid to late 20s. At 20, even the greatest athletes in history were still growing into it. There are some things I just don't know yet because of experience. So, obviously, building more experience over time is, going to help me out. They weren't breaking 49 seconds yet. Rhasidat broke it at 20, and she still wasn't done. Rome told Europe exactly who Rhasidat Adeleke was. Sometimes people try to place limitations on how far you can go because they've never seen anyone else do it. Monaco told the whole world, this Diamond League meet is one of the biggest single nights in the sport. The fields are stacked, the competition is brutal. Winning here means beating the very best on one of the toughest nights of the year.
Oh right, no, it was a good race. I felt pretty relaxed coming into it, and obviously the time reflected that as well. She won it, 400 meters, 49.17 seconds. She crossed the line and the board confirmed it. Like, sometimes things happen and they just aren't really in my control, so. What everyone already saw. She dropped the field in the last 100 meters, shifting into a gear nobody else had. That night, coaches who'd watched this event for decades all said the same thing. She'd break 49 seconds before turning 23. The body was there, the trajectory was there. Everything pointed one way. So as time went by, things started to slowly piece themselves together and, the times obviously dropped down as well. And somewhere, someone, I don't really know too much of what they would normally do just because I hadn't been in the USA back then, but pulled up an old clip, a woman running 10.49 in 1988, and a conversation that had been building for 2 years. Like, you just start noticing tiny little details about things, and then eventually you start copying them or whatever. Got too loud to ignore. Drop a comment right now before I get into the FloJo connection. Did you know her name before today? I read every comment. So obviously it's nice to receive those sort of comparisons because they mean you're on a right track or doing something correct. Florence Griffith Joyner wasn't just a sprinter. She was a total shift. When FloJo stepped up at the 1988 Seoul Olympics, she'd already changed how the sport looked. Painted nails, one-legged bodysuits she designed herself, pure confidence that everyone else was racing for second place. There was regular performance, and then there was FloJo, not even close to the same thing. Then she ran. Like, I never had an idea in my head like, oh, I want to be the quickest, or I want to go to America or anything. Like, it just happened. 10.49 at the US trials, 10.54 in the Seoul heat, 21.34 in the 200-meter final, a world record that still stands today. 3 gold medals. When I looked up those times online back then, they were, I wouldn't say average. It wasn't just a track moment. It was a moment for all of sports. FloJo changed what a female sprinter could be. Not just the times, the whole idea of it. It's, well, something that I guess just happens when you perform well, and obviously consistently too. The idea that someone could walk up to a start line and make the whole crowd feel something big was about to happen before a single step. Rhasidat's main event isn't the 100 meters, so the FloJo comparison isn't about distance, it's about presence. Honestly, like, the comparison is something that is gonna keep coming, and obviously it has started recently as well. It's about what happens to a race the moment Rhasidat steps into it. Other runners reset their expectations because of what they've seen her do. The whole race shifts around where she's standing, and they definitely give you the feeling of, okay, they might be expecting me to run faster next time. It's also about the hunger. FloJo trained so hard that coaches from that era still talk about it. She wanted to be the fastest woman alive, and she worked for every bit of it. And at the time, I didn't think I would be going under it because, of course, people close to Rhasidat describe her the same way. Sure, the talent is obvious, but the work ethic behind it is what makes insiders talk about her carefully. Like, saying it too loud might jinx it. Yeah, it is. Well, it is not too much of a shock because I know it was coming sooner or later anyway, but look at the full 2024 picture. Monaco and that European silver weren't her peak. Yeah, there's always going to be the factor of what if someone doesn't reach the target, or what if this happens instead. The 400-meter final in the European Championships? Individual silver in the 400 meters, 49.07 seconds, an Irish national record. So obviously it's nice to have some level of expectations because, if you do badly, you definitely feel like you could have done more. Gold in the mixed relay, 3.0992, another national record. Silver in the women's relay, Diamond League Monaco, first place in the 400, 49.17 seconds. Irish Nationals, gold in the 100 meters, 11.13 seconds. Another national record. Like literally anything can happen in this sort of race because everyone is doing their thing to get a medal or something. That last one deserves a pause. Running 11.13 in the 100 meters is huge for a 400-meter runner. So they definitely don't have to wait till later on in the year to try and see if someone is getting a PB or what. That kind of speed only shows up in athletes with rare fast twitch muscle. She was telling everyone something big. Her ceiling in the 400 meters hadn't even been found yet. It's literally what happens on the day. Obviously, it's hard to predict exactly who will do exactly what, but 3 national records in one season, a European silver, a relay gold, a Diamond League title, and the 100-meter time that had the whole sprint world doing the math on what her 400 meters could become. Like, some athletes obviously deal with injuries differently, and obviously everyone has a very specific body type. But elite sport doesn't care about your storyline. In 2026, a hamstring injury hit, breaking up the season Rhasidat had been building towards. At this level, hamstring injuries are no small thing. Handled wrong, they can derail an entire career. The hamstring powers everything a quarter-miler does. The acceleration, the drive phase, holding top speed in that final 100 meters. It wasn't that big a deal because obviously I have plenty of time.
My career hasn't exactly ended today. You don't rush a hamstring, not when you're protecting speed like hers. And she didn't rush it. She eased back in through a relay at the Texas Relays in March. So obviously knowing when exactly to pull out of a race or rest your legs is a hugely important factor. She ran the second leg for her team and won in 3:35.25. Not a world-leading time, but a win. Sometimes people think that we kind of push through pain, but I definitely know I'm not exactly going to do that, so a sign her body was cooperating. Whatever 2026 had left, Rhasidat would be there for it. Everything from her team said the recovery plan had worked. Because clearly everything has, worked out for me before when I gave myself rest and, came back when I felt right. That relay win in Austin answered the big question every injury raises. Is she still the same athlete on the other side? The relay said yes. And here's the fact that makes the FloJo comparison more than just hype. Like, if I was injured and I continued pushing myself, maybe I definitely wouldn't be standing right here with my PB and a record. She's only 22. Her personal best in the 400 is 49.07 seconds, run at just 20 in Rome. Yeah, it's obviously great having so much to show for what I put into it early on, obviously. A quarter-miler's body, the mix of raw speed and endurance, usually peaks around 25 or 26, sometimes later. Most of the greatest names in this event ran their fastest times in their mid-20s. So I'm obviously going to be feeling that sort of extra pressure a tiny bit next season as well to back it up. She hit 49.07 at 20. Project that curve forward 4-5 years and it points to something serious people in the sport talk about very carefully. It's sort of a good pressure, Like knowing you're obviously doing something exactly as it should be and everyone's expecting you to show it. The world record is 47.60, set by Marita Koch back in 1985, the oldest individual record in women's athletics, untouched for 41 years. Yeah, so obviously being so close to a record that's been there for so many years obviously raises lots of eyebrows and people ask questions. The gap between that record and her personal best is 1.47 seconds. That's big for a sprint event, but not impossible over the next 5 years for an athlete like her. Nobody's saying she'll run 47.60. Like, maybe not a lot of them understand exactly how much faster I can actually get if I obviously continue at this pace. What they are saying is she's one of the few women alive where that question isn't crazy to ask. And there's a part of this story numbers can't capture. Ireland has never had a sprint legend. So obviously it's nice to give that sort of visibility over here, knowing everyone's doing distance running mostly. Ireland has had great middle and long distance runners, but before Rhasidat, it never had a woman who could line up in a 400-meter final at a major championship and be a real medal threat. She changed that. People come to me asking how exactly to get to certain colleges in the US, but honestly I think, young girls in Tallaght who never watched the Diamond League broadcast before are watching now. I think there are obviously a bunch of factors, and a lot of it has to do with how focused they are and the support they are receiving too. Dublin schools say more kids are getting into sprint training now, kids who never saw it as a real path before. For the first time, Irish athletics has a face that can chase a world sprint title. Because not everything obviously revolves around America, so obviously they want to feel proud as well over here too.
That's exactly what FloJo did back in 1988, not just for American track, but for women sprinting everywhere. She didn't just run fast, she made people who never cared start caring. At 22, Rhasidat is doing something similar for a country that never saw it coming. If her career keeps the trajectory it had before the 2026 injury, the world is going to notice far beyond Ireland. Yeah, it definitely starts getting quite intense, especially during the summer, but I obviously wouldn't want to skip any part of it anyway, so. The hamstrings behind her now. That relay win in Austin proved the comeback is real. This shortened 2026 season isn't the real story. The real story is what her body, her work, and her trajectory add up to over the next 6 years. The 2027 World Championships will be her first major event fully healthy, fully grown past a 22-year-old who already broke 49 seconds, and ready to fight for a world title. The women's 400-meter field there will include, because I literally feel totally good and mentally there to back everything up and put on a show like everyone expects anyway. Nikisha Price, Marilady Paulino, Sada Williams, Dejanea Oakley, a generation pushing the 400 meters into new territory. She's already in that conversation. At 23, in full form, she could lead it. Then comes Los Angeles, 2028. The Olympics on American soil where she spent 4 years at Texas becoming who she is. A 49.07 personal best at age 20 should look very different coming from a 24-year-old with 4 more years of top-level training. Well, I can honestly say I don't really let exactly anything stop me doing my work. Like, obviously I still have targets, so obviously, FloJo was 28 in Seoul. She'd spent years building to that moment. When it all came together on that track, her numbers were so far beyond expectation that the sport is still processing them 40 years later. Rhasidat has 6 years until Los Angeles. She already has a personal best that belongs with the all-time greats. She has the work ethic people describe without hesitation, and she has that same quality the FloJo comparison is really about. Making a race feel over before the gun even fires. Walking up to a start line and telling the women beside her, without saying a word, that first place isn't up for grabs. When everything lines up on a track that matters, the world is going to understand what coaches have been saying quietly for 3 years. The girl from Tala, 6-time NCAA champion, Diamond League winner, Irish record holder. She is not finished. She has barely started, and the times ahead of her are going to be seriously fast. Like, eventually doing stuff correctly pays off for obviously pretty much anyone out there, so I think this works perfectly for myself too. So here's a question. Does Rhasidat Adeleke win Olympic gold in Los Angeles in 2028? And does she break 49 seconds before she gets there? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If you want to be here when a 22-year-old from Tala rewrites Irish athletics history on the biggest stage in the world, hit subscribe right now. This story is just getting started.